Morning, guys. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to be reading today. We're going to do 260 to 265 in Glass Castle. So, all I need you to do today is just listen to my reading. I'll probably stop along the way and give you some ideas and thoughts and kind of just challenge you to think a little bit. Obviously, we are not in class enjoying this together, which we enjoy doing, but we're going to get through this together. I miss you guys. I hope you're doing well. Like I said, if you need anything, just email me. My email address is on Google Classroom. If you do not have a Chromebook and you did not get one from the school or you don't have a laptop at home, make sure that you try to get to the school tomorrow, Monday, which would be like right now today as you're listening to this. I think they're going to be open, unless something changes, until 2 p.m. to give out Chromebooks. But you should be able to do a variety of these things that we're doing in senior English on your phone if you have to. If you can't answer to the discussion board on Google Classroom right now, that's fine. Just do it on a piece of notebook paper. Obviously, I'm doing this for my home, so it's not going to be perfect. And I'm not going to pause it if somebody comes in, so you'll just see my life for what it is. Um, what a day. So I miss you guys. I hope you're well. So remember that last time we met, we were reading about just, Rex and Rosemary's introduction into Jeanette's life in New York City. She's been there 3 years, and I think that, she makes a good point that these people don't fit into her life anymore. They're her mom and dad and things, but she's got her siblings there, and they get together and they eat dinner together. But the new life that Jeanette has really has no room for Rex or Rosemary in it, and she doesn't know where they fit because she's kind of leading a double life right now. People don't know that she came from where she came from, and she's petrified that people will find out. So we are going to be at 260 today. Mom and dad have been homeless all winter. They've made it work. I mean, we talked about how Rosemary could have sold that 2 carat diamond. She could have sold the Indian jewelry. She could have sold the Phoenix house. She could have sold the Texas land. And I know you guys are in your feelings about Rex, obviously, some of the decisions he's made, especially breaking into Oz and taking the money. So today's discussion board question is, after you listen to me read, do you feel like Rex redeems himself? And this will make more sense once I read through these pages. So when we're done reading, I'm going to have you respond to that discussion board question on Google Classroom. 5 thoughtful sentences. Your opinion. Does Rex redeem himself? I'm interested to see what you think. So we'll see. Because we've talked before about how people are not all good or all bad. And there are parts of Rex that we want to choke, and there are parts of Rex that we want to hug. So we'll see. 260. Mom and Dad survived the winter, but every time I saw them, they looked a little worse for the wear. Dirtier, more bruised, their hair more matted. Don't you fret a bit, Dad said. Have you ever known your old man to get himself in a situation he couldn't handle? I kept telling myself Dad was right, and that they knew how to look after themselves and each other. But in the spring, Mom called me to say Dad had come down with tuberculosis. Dad almost never got sick. He was always getting banged up and then recovering almost immediately, as if nothing could truly hurt him. A part of me still believed all those childhood stories he told me about how invincible he was. Dad had asked that no visitors come and visit him, but Mom said she thought he'd be pretty pleased if I dropped by the hospital. I waited at the nurse's station while an orderly went to tell him he had a visitor. I thought Dad might be under an oxygen tank or lying in a bed coughing up blood into a white handkerchief. But after a minute, he came hurrying down the hall. He was paler and more gaunt than usual, but despite all his years of hard living, he had aged very little. He still had all of his hair, and it was still coal black, and his dark eyes twinkled above the paper surgical mask he was wearing. He wouldn't let me hug him. "Whoa, Nellie, stay back," he said. "You're sure a sight for sore eyes, honey, but I don't want you catching this son of a bitchin' bug." Dad escorted me back to the TB ward and introduced me to all of his friends. Believe it or not, old Rex did produce something worth bragging about, and here she is, he told them. Then he started coughing. Dad, are you going to be okay? I asked. Ain't none of us getting out of this place alive, honey, Dad said. It was an expression he used often, and now he seemed to find a special satisfaction in it. Dad led me over to his cot. A neat pile of books were stacked next to it. He said his bout of TB had set him on pondering the morality and the nature of the cosmos. He had been stone cold sober since entering the hospital and reading a lot more about the chaos theory, particularly the work of Mitchell Fingenbaum, a physicist at Los Alamos who had made a study of transitions between order and turbulence. Dad said he was damned if Feigenbaum didn't make a persuasive case that turbulence was not just the fact random, but followed a sequential spectrum of varying frequencies. If every action in the universe that we thought was random actually conformed into a rational pattern, Dad said, that implied that the existence of a divine creator, and he was beginning to rethink his atheistic creed. I'm not saying there's a bearded old geezer named Yahweh up in the clouds deciding which football team's going to win the Super Bowl, Dad said. But if the quantum physics, suggests that God exists, I'm more than willing to entertain the notion. Dad showed me some of his calculations he had been working on. He saw me looking at his trembling fingers and he held them up. Lack of liquor or fear to God. Don't know which is causing it, he said. Maybe both. Promise you'll stay here until you get better, Dad, I said. I don't want you doing the skedaddle. Dad burst into laughter that ended up in another coughing fit. Ay, right? Dad stayed in the hospital for 6 weeks. By then, he'd not only beaten back the TB, he'd been sober for longer than any time since the time in Phoenix detox. He knew that if he went back to the streets, he'd start drinking again. One of the hospital administrators got him a job as a maintenance man at the upstate resort, room and board included. He tried to talk Mom into going with him, but she flatly refused. Upstate's the sticks, Mom said. So Dad went alone. He called me from time to time and sounded like he had put together a life that worked for him. He had a one-room apartment over a garage, enjoyed doing the repairs and upkeep on the old lodge, loved being back within walking distance of the untamed country, and was staying sober. Dad worked at the resort throughout the summer and into the fall. As it began to turn cold again, Mom called him and mentioned how much easier it would be for two people to stay warm during the winter, and how much Tinkle the dog had missed him. In November, after the first hard frost, I got a call from Brian, who said that Mom had succeeded in persuading Dad to quit his job and return to the city. Do you think he'll stay sober? I asked. He's already back on the booze, Brian said. A few weeks after Dad got back, I saw him at Lori's. He was sitting on the sofa with his arm around Mom and a pint bottle in his hand. He laughed. This crazy-ass mother of yours, you can't live with her, you can't live without her. And damned if she doesn't feel the same about me. Oh. I can hear your collective sighs right now, right? Like he gets his life together. He's sober. He's got a job upstate New York. Rosemary won't go with him. She won't put herself second for a second. And I get it, I'm being hard on her. But sometimes in a marriage, what's right for one person to get better is not always fun for the other, but you do what you have to do to make your spouse successful. Sometimes you got to be the tambourine. Sometimes you got to be second fiddle. And Rosemary just can't be. So she calls him back to New York City. He comes back, and he's right back to his old crap. Breaks your heart. And it's only going to get worse for him from here, and it makes me wonder if he would have stayed upstate, Would he still be alive today? I don't know. All of us kids had our own lives by then. I was in college. Lori had become an illustrator at a comic book company. Maureen lived with Lori and went to high school. And Brian, who had wanted to be a cop ever since he had had to call the police to our house in Phoenix to break up a fight between mom and dad, had become a warehouse foreman and was serving on the auxiliary force until he was old enough to take the police department's entrance exam. Mom suggested we all celebrate Christmas at Lori's apartment. I bought Mom an antique silver cross, but finding a gift for Dad was harder. He always said he never needed anything. Since it looked like it was going to be another hard winter, and since Dad wore nothing but his bomber jacket, even in the coldest weather, I decided to get him some warm clothes. At an Army surplus store, I bought flannel shirts, thermal underwear, thick wool socks, the kind of blue work pants that auto mechanics wear, and a new pair of steel-toed boots. Lori decorated her apartment with colored lights and pine bogs and paper angels. Brian made eggnog, and to demonstrate that he was on his best behavior, Dad went to great lengths to make sure there was no alcohol in it before he accepted a glass. Mom passed around their presents, each wrapped in newspaper and tied with butcher's twine. Lori got a cracked lamp that might have been a Tiffany. Maureen an antique porcelain doll that had lost most of its hair. Brian a 19th century book of poetry, missing the cover and the first few pages. My present was an orange crewneck sweater, slightly stained, but made, Mom pointed out, of genuine Shetland wool. When I passed Dad my stack of carefully wrapped boxes, he protested that he needed and wanted nothing. Go ahead, I said, open them. I watched as he carefully removed the wrapping. He lifted the lids and stared at the folded clothes. His face took on a wounded expression he got whenever the world called his bluff. You must be mighty ashamed of your old man, he said. What do you mean? I asked. You think I'm some sort of damn charity case. Dad stood up and put on his bomber jacket. He was avoiding all of our eyes. Where are you going? I asked. Dad just turned up his collar and walked out of the apartment. I listened to the sound of his boots going down the stairs. What did I do? I asked. Look at it from his perspective, Mom said. You buy him all of these nice things, and all he has for you is junk from the street. He's the father. He's the one who's supposed to be taking care of you. The room was quiet for a while. I guess you don't want your presents either, Mom, I said to her. Oh, no, Mom said. I love getting presents. You know what I think when I read that chapter is how easy life would be if Rex just took care of his kids. Like, he wanted to take care of them. He made the decision to take care of them. He took care of them. He knows what he needs to do, but I feel like sometimes decisions get in the way. Sin gets in the way. Struggles get in the way. And yeah, he knows he should be taking care of his kids. Yeah, he knows he probably should have been taking care of his kids for years. But he is a severe alcoholic. And whether we debate that he's a functional alcoholic or not, he's an alcoholic. And he wants to do what's right, but it's hard. You guys understand that. I understand that. You know, you want to do what's right, but doing what's right can be really difficult when you've got a sin on your back you cannot get rid of. A demon that's chasing you, right? Last bit of pages today. By the following summer, Mom and Dad were heading into their third year on the streets. They'd figured out how to make it work for them, and I gradually came around to accepting the notion that whether I liked it or not, this was how it was going to be. It's sort of the city's fault, Mom told me. They make it so easy to be homeless. They make it so easy to be homeless. It was really unbearable. We'd do something different. In August, Dad called to go over my course schedule for the fall semester. He also wanted to discuss some of the books on my reading list. Since he had come to New York, he had been borrowing my assigned books from the public library. He read every single one, he said, so he could answer any questions I might have. Mom said it was his way of getting a college education right along with me. When he asked me what courses I had signed up for, I said, Dad, I'm thinking about dropping out. The hell you are, Dad said. I told him that while most of my tuition was covered by grants and loans and scholarships, the school expected me to contribute $2,000 a year. But over the summer, I had only been able to save $1,000. I needed another $1,000 and had no way to come up with it. Why didn't you tell me this sooner? Dad asked. Dad called a week later and told me to meet him at Lori's. When he arrived with Mom, he was carrying a large plastic garbage bag and had a small brown paper bag tucked under his arm. I assumed it was a bottle of booze, but then he opened the paper bag and he turned it upside down. Hundreds of dollar bills. Oh, you guys. You suck. Hundreds of dollar bills. Ones, fives, tens, 20s. All wrinkled and worn, spilled onto my lap. There's $950 there, he said. He opened the plastic bag, and a fur coat tumbled out. That there's mink. You should be able to pawn it for $50, at least. I stared at the loot. Where did you get all this? I finally asked. New York's full of poker players who don't know their ass from a hole in the ground. Dad, I said, you guys need this money more than I do. It's yours, Dad said. Since when is it wrong for a father to take care of his little girl? But I can't. I looked at Mom. She sat down next to me and patted my leg. I've always believed in the value of a good education, she said. So, when I enrolled in my final year of Barnard, I paid what I owed on my tuition with Dad's wadded, crumpled bills. Does he redeem himself? I mean, we can make a laundry list of all the things he's done wrong. So today, after that, what do you think? Does Rex redeem himself? Does he make up for all of that? Do you love him again? I want to know your thoughts. So make sure you answer that discussion board question on Google Classroom. Right underneath the discussion board, it says add a comment. You can type in right there 5 thoughtful sentences, or you can respond to someone else's opinion. I'll probably respond to you as well. Tomorrow we'll continue reading. I'll have another discussion board. You already have the final test in your possession to take. It's all essays, so make sure you get that done as soon as we're done with the book as well. If you have any questions, please send me an email or put something on Google Classroom. And if you need anything, please email me. I'm here, and I'm here to help because it's my job. I miss you guys. I will see you soon, I promise. Have a good day.